Hello there, good to see you. Hope this day finds you well and feeling okay and over the reveries of the May weekend. It's funny how the concept of time itself seems to have come under scrutiny at the moment. Things can be people can be dismissive of philosophical stuff, and then people saying, "What is time? What's the concept of the weekend when it's all the weekend or never the weekend or whatever?" The I go on that opening philosophical musing because I think don't switch off when I say this. This might be considered philosophical in nature, but it's it's originated in the world with things not really getting much more real than this. Uh, it was a story from the other side of the Atlantic, and I realise at the moment most stories that come across to this side of the Atlantic from America is usually to do with the White House and the guy with the orange permatan. I'm trying to avoid speaking about him, and this other story is just it's still weird because that's the stories that we get in this country about America. We don't get normal stories, we get weird stories. Last Friday, Arkansas, the state of Arkansas, uh, executed one of its death row inmates in one of its prisons. Arkansas still has the death penalty. So the fact that they've done that, it's not really news. What's news, or what became news, was the reason why they did this particular one and the other ones that they're attempting to do. They have eight people, eight men, four black, four white, who have committed various heinous crimes, it would appear. Some newspapers have been suggesting new evidence has come to light to question some of them, but they've got eight men who they're attempting to kill, and one of them they did kill last Friday. Who knows? My finger is not on the penitentiary news coming out of America. Maybe since last Friday they've killed more. But the thing that was just the most bizarre thing was the rationale for getting on with it. They had these eight, and they said that they wanted to ensure that they got on with the business of executing them because the means by which uh, people who are on death row are killed in Arkansas is by lethal injection. So there is a cocktail of various chemicals which are used to, first of all, put the person into a state of unconsciousness, and then in that place of unconsciousness, they then administer more drugs and they kill them. It transpires that these various drugs obviously are lethal. That's kind of the point. But they're like all the other products that get made in this wondrous world that we live in. They come with a use by date. And I think it's the end of May. And so what they actually said was, we bought these chemicals to kill people in executions. And if we don't use these chemicals soon, their use by date will be over and we'll have to dispose of the chemicals. And as a consequence, we better get a move on and use them. So this, as everything does in America, ended up in a court, and one of the judges, there was various judges, and they went in favour of the execution. But one of the judges' specific reason for being against this particular series of executions was because the manner in which it was being done basically constituted a degree of randomness that is simply unacceptable. I think it's okay if it's, a lump of cheese or some Rice Krispies that you feel, you really should be using this up, and if you don't, you're going to end up recycling it in the food bin. But can you really bring that rationale to, we better kill this person soon because the chemicals are going to run out or go beyond their use by date? One of the things that you get quite clear from that is people don't like random. It's okay when there's a system. The system might be flawed, the system might be good, but when there's a system, you kind of, well, that's the system. Random is wrong. And that's one of the things that it would appear that people have as reasons not to believe in God off the back of the coronavirus. Why do some people die and other people not die? I think it's a weak argument. This coronavirus seems to be very, very, very focused on your respiratory function, and those people who have a weakened, diminished, reduced respiratory function are more likely to die than those people whose respiratory function is better. But it unquestionably seems unfair to people that there's just this apparent choice. Like the virus doesn't think and the virus doesn't make choices, but it's this sense of it hits people who are in their 70s and in their 80s and in their 90s. It targets people who are kind of like wee old ladies and frail old men. And some people get it and some people don't, and randomness is wrong. Randomness in human dealings, when it's the human being that's being random, that I think is unfair. That's not how things should be. But when you deal with the coronavirus almost at a philosophical basis, first and foremost, it illustrates the basic Christian point. The world is a fallen world. None of this. It's not just people get annoyed and kick the cat and, behave in ways that are unacceptable. It's not just individual relationships or individual people that do things that are objectionable. It's the entire planet that is a fallen planet. I don't think God designed the world to have people constantly die in what's referred to as natural disasters, acts of God. God's not there when we want to thank somebody for something that's wonderful, but when something goes wrong, we'll call it an act of God and blame the deity. Philosophically, we live in a fallen world. This is not how things were designed by God to be. And as a consequence, you have things like a mutation of a virus that kills bats turning into a virus that can kill humans. And it focuses on their lungs, and people who are older tend to have less efficient lungs than people who are younger. But it still seems to kill lots of people across all the various ages. If you yourself react badly to the randomness apparent in this particular virus, recognize I don't think it's random. I think it's simply a bug that does what it does. But to us, it seems random. From God's perspective, the world isn't as it should be, and the coronavirus is one more aspect, one more piece of evidence to make manifest that assertion. I want to finish with probably one of the most philosophical books in the Bible. This is Job chapter 42. Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Who is it that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore, I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me, which I did not know. The whole book of Job is about why why bad things happen to good people, people who have, quotes, done nothing wrong. Why is life such a random pain in the neck where things that just shouldn't take place do? And what Job is saying is, this is above my pay grade. I don't have an explanation for all these things, but I recognize that intellectual stuntedness, that kind of, we have scientists, we have people who do science, we have all these things. Why can't we have an answer to this? And the answer is, humanity's achievements, incredible though they may be, don't allow us to know everything. I don't think it's random. I don't think God is up in heaven picking people off like some petulant 4-year-old deity who's just having a bad time. I think the reality is the virus is just yet more evidence we live in a fallen world. If you disagree, give us some comments and tell me what you think. Go with God, because I know He goes with you.